Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
All right, welcome to another edition of C2C Rankem. Sorry for the late start. Had some stuff going on. Had a couple technical issues before we got on too. But we got that all settled, and we are back. I'm the host, Big B, and alongside me is my co-host, Prime Ooze, Tim Hendricks. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Really excited for the next couple weeks. Actually, I was really excited for the Rumble.
Yeah, yeah, we might have to do a Rankem on that one. But this week, after the two big playoff games we've had, we are going to do our Super Bowl Rankem. We got different categories here. So, in honor of the Super Bowl 40 or 57, is it?
Yeah. 57.
Getting up there. So, where should we start? Well, just like the Super Bowl, why don't we start with the national anthems? So, your number 5 national anthem all time.
My number 5 all time was the one right before. How apropos that this one's going to be brother versus brother with the Kelsey brothers in Kansas City and Philadelphia. My number 5 was the first time two brothers coached against each other with San Francisco and Baltimore and the Harbaugh brothers, and I picked Alicia Keys.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe we were going on a different topic here. I'm like, wait a minute, we're talking anthem. I like that one. For me, number 5, the woman's got a great voice. No matter, she gets that right song, she's golden. The 2002 anthem by Mariah Carey. So I got to have her at number 5. Your number 4.
My number 4, I think yesterday the anniversary of the 1 yard Super Bowl between St. Louis and Tennessee. It was either yesterday. I think so. This is another one, much like Mariah Carey. If you give her the right song, she's going to knock it completely out of the park. Mm-hmm. And I think she did, and that's Faith Hill.
Ooh, yeah, I did see that one, yeah. My number 4, if I remember right, they did just this group. It's the choir from the armed forces, and I think if I remember right too, during their song, of course, you always see the jets over, and I just think having them there, especially around that time where it seems like every year we're talking about a war going on somewhere, but just having the armed forces choir there in 2005 singing, I think it was very touching. Your number 3.
I went with the. I think it was the first 1993. I think it might have been the second Dallas Cowboy Buffalo Bills Super Bowl.
Okay.
And the funny story behind this is that the singer almost walked off before they even sang the national anthem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was something I can't remember what it was. And when I saw it, I'm like, yeah, this is. And I remember the song, and I remember how big this artist was. And it's actually one of the. I've got like 2 males on this list, but most people don't remember that Garth Brooks almost walked off in 1993, but he did. He had creative problems with NBC. Sounds like everybody seems to have creative problems with NBC. So I went with Garth Brooks.
I forgot he did it. Yeah, for me, number 3. This lady's, it seems like every couple of years she's done a halftime show recently. She's, at the time, I think she was one of the hottest singers around. That's 2004 when Beyonce did the national anthem, and she's been part of a couple of halftime shows too. So, it's almost going to be called a halftime Beyonce show or something. So, all right, number 2.
I went with at this time. There's actually 3 singers on here. This is where my other man is on
Okay.
the national anthem. But it was to commemorate and to remember Katrina.
Okay.
And it just happened to be, and the really weird thing was, it happened to be the same Super Bowl that the Indianapolis Colts played the New Orleans Saints. But I've got Aretha Franklin, Aaron Neville, and Dr. John.
Yeah, that was a good one. I do recall that one. Number 2, a guy who probably has one of the smoothest voices when it comes to love songs all around. But for him to do the national anthem, another great icon, 97, Luther Vandross. Wish I had his voice. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb here that because we kind of talked last week. I'm pretty sure we got the same number 1.
So I think at the time we were in the middle of the Gulf War, the first Gulf War for Super Bowl 30. And the thing is that Whitney Houston was so worried that she was going to lose her voice because she had practiced it so much that she had to record it.
Yep.
And then she didn't use the recording, which is even.
Oh, she did not use the recording.
No.
Okay.
No, they were going to, and then she ended up singing it herself. Okay. So, but I went with Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
And again, it's the gold standard.
Yeah, I went with Whitney Houston, and I think we kind of talked backstage last week. I believe she even got a Super Bowl card or a football card out of it, and I believe that's the only one of the national anthems people that's actually gotten a card. I don't think they make them for everybody.
No, they don't. That one, I think I completely agree with you. I think it was 90 pro set, 90 or 91 pro set, and they had it. And I had it. I'll be honest, I had it.
Yeah, there's a few cards I've had that turned up to be buco bucks nowadays. So, all right, let's go into. Well, why don't we do our Super Bowl teams now? We kind of agreed it doesn't have to be a winning team necessarily, but our top Super Bowl teams. So, who's your number 5?
My number 5 team. This is a personal favorite of mine, and I'm wondering if this is going to be on your list. It's not the greatest of records, but what they accomplished was what makes my number 1 team really, really happy. It's the 2007 New York Giants, the team that beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl to make sure that the 72 Dolphins were the only teams to be the undefeated teams in the Super Bowl in the season. So I'm a Patriots hater, and I had to put this one on the list.
Yeah, I know at the time a lot of teams were Patriot haters. Now for me, I kind of went, a team that made history. They always say it's hard to get back as a Super Bowl champ into the Super Bowl. This team actually did it 4 times, but on the losing end. But again, you're the 1-2 seed in the AFC, you get to the Super Bowl 4 straight years in a row. Yeah, you would hope the luck would go your way once in a while, but but the Buffalo Bills of that string of 4 straight. I mean, that's who I got as number 5. You're number 4.
I almost put them on this list when you said when you said that it didn't have to be the team that won the Super Bowl. That almost became my number 5. I went with a team that absolutely was starting a backup quarterback. And no, it's not the 30 Super Bowl. It's not the net Super Bowl 30 New York Giants. But everybody remembers that the leading quarterback on that team, the year that they went to the Super Bowl, was Jay Schrader. Not the quarterback that ends up winning the MVP. The quarterback became the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl in the NFL, and it was the '87 Washington Redskins.
Yeah, that was here in Minnesota, wasn't it?
I think that was in. No, that one was in. I want to say Pasadena.
Was it? Okay. You could be right. Maybe we have one of the Bills games here. I can't remember. They'll don't. No, I like that. Yeah. Doug Williams backup quarterback, and now the backup quarterback gets you to the Super Bowl, and then you start the starter again, and so my number 4, from the coin toss to the end of the game, this team had their pedal to the metal. The 89 San Francisco 49ers against the Denver Broncos. I think they scored at will. Denver could have probably had 15 to 20 guys on defense. They probably still would have scored. It was 55-10. I think, just I don't know what else to say about the game. So, you're number 3.
My number 3, I actually brought up the national anthem from this game. When you have you have a devastation like they did in New Orleans, and then turn around and I think both teams were at one point. The Colts and the Saints were both undefeated going into week 13. Yeah. They were both undefeated at the same time, and they ended up losing the same week. And then they face each other in the Super Bowl. But to have a quarterback like Drew Brees do what he did, and I understand the game was really close. But it was the fact is that was a game where the offense played well. The special team starts the second half off with an onside kick to get the ball back, to make sure that they get the ball back starting the second half, and then Tracy Porter picking off a play. It was basically the Dion the New England Patriots play before the New England Patriots pulled it off against Seattle. It was Tracy Porter taking a quick slant that Peyton was trying to get to Reggie Wayne, and it's a heartbreaker to me. But I was glad to see it was New Orleans that won that game. But the 2009 New Orleans Saints.
All right, my number 3 team possibly had one of the best defenses at their time, and when you're able to put the biggest guy on your defense and offense and give him the ball and nobody's going to touch him. Granted, he's only good for a yard or two, so it's not like you're going to put it back there all the time. And they made a song after it after they won it. So Chicago Bears at number 3 there. That team, that defense was a legit defense. So you're number 2.
You steal some of my thunder because my number 2 is your number 3. 80 and truthfully, I think if the Bears don't lose on Monday night against Washington, they go into the playoffs 16-0. And truthfully, I think this team would have been number 1 if Ditka had used his head, and his one huge regret, and he will go to his grave saying that this is his biggest regret, and not giving Walter Payton a Super Bowl touchdown.
Yeah.
I think if Walter Payton gets a Super Bowl touchdown in that game, I think the 85 Bears is my number 1 team, not the number 2 team.
Okay. My number 2 team, I know I'm going to crush your heart on this one, but the Patriots, in 2008, you go undefeated all the way. And, it was a great game. Like you said, the Dolphins are happy that the Patriots lost that year. But, I don't think, as much as I don't like the Patriots either, I don't think you can have a legit list and not have that team on there specifically. So, you're number 1.
I didn't put it on there. The aforementioned 1972 Miami Dolphins. That's yep. I think that's the clear-cut number 1 team on this. I know a lot of people are going to say, "Well, you didn't put the Ray Lewis Baltimore Ravens on there." Problem is, they had a great defense. Their offense was trash.
Well, that's just like putting the Denver Broncos Manning game on there.
Right, exactly, and it's like. Yeah, I know that in the Dolphins game was closer than it should have been against the Redskins, and the Redskins could have won that game, but it's still and they did it with a backup, and I think they did that with a backup quarterback. I don't think Brian Greasy was started. I don't think Greasy started that game. I think it was Earl Morrall that had started that game for the 72 Dolphins, which is a former Baltimore Colt.
Yeah.
But yeah, 72 Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah. You go undefeated from week 1 to the Super Bowl, you win it all until somebody tops you. And maybe even if somebody tops you, they're still number one because they're the first ones to do it. So, yeah, 72 Dolphins. I mean, they're popping champagne every year once that last team loses. So, all right. So let's go into some commercials. I know this could have done a whole show on this one alone. So, I know I left quite a bit off of there. There's a couple I couldn't find, so we might have to talk about them a little bit unless you have them. So, you're number 5.
If I'm not mistaken, this happens to be a Super Bowl commercial where the player, because it features an NFL player from a prominent defense, and I think he might have actually been in the Super Bowl that the Super Bowl commercial was being played in, and it's really nostalgic because it's 1979. It's the Coca-Cola Mean Joe Green commercial. I remember that going, yeah, I really wish I could have had that Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. And I truthfully think the Steelers were in the Super Bowl for that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I kind of will have to look that up. For me, my number 5, and actually when I typed up Super Bowl commercials, this was probably the one that popped up the quickest, I guess. The Budweiser, what's up? I mean, how many times after that commercial do we see somebody, what's up? What's up? So that definitely is up there. So that's my number 5. Your number 4.
My number 4 is much like the What's Up guys. Was one of those commercials where it sparked a revolution, and it sparked a trend, and it really made you pay attention to this restaurant's hamburgers, and because they don't have circle patties, they've got square patties, and you couldn't see the patties from the hamburger because they were circle and not square. And most people don't remember that Wendy's put the Where's the Beef commercial was originally a Super Bowl commercial in 1984. And it's one of those, where's the beef? It's like, what's up? It's like everybody said the same bloody thing over and over again.
Yep, exactly. Where's the beef? Yep. My number 4 is another Budweiser commercial. And, we probably said it the day that the Super Bowl happened, constantly, maybe the next day. But it's the Budweiser's frog ones where they got 3 frogs out there and you hear Bud, Wise, in 95. So that was classic. All right, you're number 3.
To me, the third one is so iconic because everybody remembers it, and everybody doesn't remember where it started. And it was funny because eventually Charles Barkley tries to get in on this commercial. And it's one of those that sparked a video game. It sparked, and it's so funny when you realize it. But when you put Michael Jordan and Larry Bird in a horse game, yeah, everybody's doing it, and the only one that had the money to do it was McDonald's back in '93. So yeah, the Jordan versus Bird '93.
Yep, I kept that one off the list because, like you said, I didn't think that was a Super Bowl commercial. I didn't think the first one was a Super Bowl commercial. But yeah, no, that was a good one. I like that one. My number 3 happened a couple years ago, and I believe at the end it was the winner of the girl that won the punt, pass, and kick competition ended the commercial, and that was the 100-year game commercial where they had everybody like in a Hall of Fame type setting. Player grabs the piece of cake, the ball falls out the top, and everybody's like fumble, and and every iconic player, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Bradshaw, everybody's in this commercial, and at the end, the young girl standing there with the ball, So that's my number 3. Your number 2.
My number 2, you stole my thunder way back when with the Budweiser "What's Up, Guys." It got put in movies. It got put in everything. I mean, that thing got parodied and it
Yes.
came, and I think it got revisited like 2-3 years ago at a Super Bowl commercial too.
Yeah, I think they kind of brought it out a little bit. Yeah,
and it's one of those where you hear it and the moment it's like, where's the beef? As soon as 90 happened, you went and you kind of cringed. And after 2000, when you hear the "What's Up, Guys," you just go, oh man, and then you look back and you go, oh my, that was a Super Bowl commercial. and yeah, oh yeah.
Well, we kind of flip flop 2 and 5 because your number 5 was my number 2 because it's so iconic. I mean, the 79 hey kid, the Coca-Cola commercial where he has him his jersey. The Twins redid it here, and I think maybe a lot of other teams kind of redid it with their superstar. We did it with Joe Mauer with his sideburns, kind of the same thing during one of their playoff runs.
Yeah, I think the Yankees had done it too. I had redid it with Derek Jeter.
Yeah. So yeah, the Coca-Cola Hey Kid 76 commercial, definitely iconic. Gonna be interesting to see what your number 1 is. What's your number 1?
I'm gonna start wondering, are we going 3 for 3 here? It's this commercial only aired once. Guess it's not the same one.
No.
And the funny thing is, it happened in 1984. The commercial itself is based off of George Orwell's 1984, the book 1984, about Big Brothers watching. Boy, how did they got that one almost right? Almost 28, 29 years too late or too early. And the funny thing is, it's got John Hurt in the commercial as Big Brother up in the big screen. I love this commercial. Every time I see it on YouTube, I absolutely love it. And it's one of those commercials that to me, was way ahead of its time. And it really put Macintosh on the map. It's the Macintosh commercial. And the funny thing is, it's even named 1984.
Yeah. Yeah, I did rekindle that one a little bit. So for me, I'm going to group all these commercials together because I don't think the Super Bowl commercials would be the same if you didn't include the Clydesdales. I mean, they're something simple and easy, but for me, when it comes to Super Bowl commercial, the Clydesdales have to be there. Especially the one I like is when they got the Clydesdales all lined up like they're playing football, and 2 guys are watching, and then the guys go, "What's going on?" Well, he's going to go look at the replay or something. You got a zebra looking like he's in the camera, looking in the camera, which iconic. But to me, any Clydesdale commercial is great. Now, you didn't have them on there either, so I am wondering, because I didn't have them, but the Terry Tate commercials, the office linebacker, was that a Super Bowl commercial or was that just a football commercial?
I thought it was just a football commercial. I think Terry Tate had got put in during the conference championship games.
Okay. All right.
But yeah.
Because when we talked about commercials, I'm like, well, Terry Tate's got to be up there, but I didn't see him anywhere in the Super Bowl commercial like review.
I didn't either, but it was like, and I'm looking at them. There's something, that list is so big and it's so good.
Yep.
Like the E-Trade commercial with the babies, the E-Trade baby commercial to me was even amazing.
Back mid '90s, I think it was the Looney Tunes and Deion Sanders commercial. I thought was pretty funny because if I remember right, doesn't Deion kind of get squashed in the road or something after the roadrunner runs by or something?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There was a one where the Looney Tunes one where they were where it was called Hair Jordan, where he's wearing Jordans.
Yep.
To me, the one that I kind of wishing I had put on this list came out, I want to say, at the big time, and I'm going to say this, and people are going to go, Morgan Freeman's still big. But Peter Dinklage it was about the big time in the Game of Thrones, was like really at the high point, and Morgan Freeman was really riding a good solid high, and it was a Doritos and Mountain Dew Ice commercial where Peter Dinklage is lip syncing Busta Rhymes, and it's, you know how fast Busta Rhymes can spit, and you got Peter Dinklage, little short dude, just running just at the same time, the same speed, and then you got Morgan Freeman lip syncing Missy Elliott, and to me, I love that commercial. It's just those other five were just huge.
Yeah, no, like I said, we could have done a good half hour. Excuse me, half hour on commercials. Oh man, that came out of nowhere. All right, so let's get into our halftime shows here. Again, another. I don't think the halftime shows were big back then, but recently they're becoming very big staples of the Super Bowl shows. So, you're number 5.
My number 5 came from Super Bowl 27. I think I actually talked about this with, I want to say, Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks might have been the national anthem, and Michael Jackson was the halftime show. I think that was either 93. Was it 93 or 94? I can't remember which. Yeah. At that point, I think he was the biggest. Nobody figured that they could get Michael Jackson, and I think Michael Jackson took his cue from Whitney Houston in 93 for doing the national anthem and for Super Bowl 30, and I think he took it. Well, that was Super Bowl 30. No, that can't be right. But maybe I can't do my Roman numerals right. But yeah, to see Michael Jackson on stage, that made everybody. I mean, you got a worldwide superstar, megastar, and Michael Jackson doing the halftime show. Yeah, you're going to get a worldwide audience to watch the halftime show of a Super Bowl.
Yeah. For me, and what happened in this halftime show kind of changed how TV's viewed nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time they both were they were hot at the time. Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake, 2004 Super Bowl. Great halftime show. Of course, what happened, mistake or not,
even better ending.
Yeah. So that's my number 5. You're number 4.
I'm starting to have a feeling we flipped 2 and 5 again. I like the Super Bowl between the Peyton Manning Denver Broncos game. The halftime show with Bruno Mars and Red Hot Chili Peppers. You've got 2 clashing styles of artists. You got Bruno Mars, great singer, songwriter, dancer, and then you've got the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who shouldn't be on the same stage with Bruno Mars because they're not going to tour together, but yet they meshed so perfectly. I absolutely love that halftime show.
That was a good halftime show, like you said. I mean, and that's one thing with the Super Bowl. What they're doing is they get these, one generation or one genre of music and another to come together. They put out some good shows. For me, number 4, I believe it was 2009. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band got back together and played. So that was a pretty good one for me to see. To actually get to see Bruce Springsteen play was good. You're number 3.
I think I have a hang up with the Giants Patriots game, Super Bowl 42. I think as much as it's fun to see what was happening in that game. I enjoyed the halftime show. I lived. I don't know how many people out there know me that I actually got a chance to live near this artist's hometown in Florida. But yeah, it's and he passed away while I was still living in Florida, so it was kind of weird to do that. And the Florida Gators support him quite well after that. But the halftime show for Super Bowl 42 with Tom Petty, to me was such a fun. It
Yeah.
was so fun, and it was for a while. It seemed like that's what the Super Bowl halftime show had been missing, was something
Yeah.
outside of what it was.
Yeah. For me, my number 3, and part of me didn't want to put this on there, but part of me put it on there because of what it meant to me growing up. My genre of music and era was last year's Super Bowl, Dr. Dre and Friends. And the thing is honestly, I couldn't understand one word they were saying, but they had those guys on there. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody's trying to call us. Something. So, anyway, number 3 is Dr. Dre and Friends. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is your number 5. I would be considered sexist and misogynistic if I put it number 1. But then again, I would do the person who is at number 1 a very big disservice, because number 1 was amazing. But yeah, definitely Janet Jackson, and Justin Timberlake. Why does the Patriots have to have good Super Bowl halftime shows? Why?
I don't know. Yeah, my number 2, definitely your number 5. At the time, like you said, it was just not right, or not seeing that you're going to get a big time celebrity to do the halftime show, And Michael Jackson, I think, was one of the first ones to do it. And that halftime show, having clones popping out on each scoreboard, and then have him come in the middle of the field, just was iconic. That Super Bowl definitely was. And again, would be number 1 if I'm assuming we got the same number 1. So who's your number 1?
My number 1 is a little known Minnesota resident.
Yep.
His last name is Rogers, which is funny because most people don't know that. And the funny thing is, you and I know this, but he was Mr. Basketball for Minnesota back in the 70s, which is funny because he's 5'6". The Purple Man, Prince. That's like the Whitney Houston national anthem. It's the gold standard.
Yep. No, and yeah, like you said, and the best part of it too was in the perfect timing. Purple Rain, and it started sprinkling out. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but the year the Super Bowl was here recently with the new stadium, before Prince died, he was about. I think the reports came out that he was like a day or 2 away from signing to do the Super Bowl show here at US Bank Stadium that year. So yeah. But again, Justin Timberlake did a fine job at that Super Bowl, but yeah, I think Prince would have just blown that. We probably have 1 and 2 as Prince.
Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2 is Prince, because it's just Prince, and to find out that, and it's just really weird for how long ago it was that my dad would sit there, and one day I sat down and asked my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, what's your favorite artist?" He said Prince, and it blew my mind when I heard that. He's like, "Yeah, it's Prince." I said, "Okay, I'm going to have to ask these questions now because I'm not really sure. What's your favorite movie?" Purple Rain. I'm like, are you kidding me? How many times have we watched all these other things like Indiana Jones and Star Wars? No, Purple Rain. Absolutely love Purple Rain. And my dad's like, are you going to ask me what my favorite album is? No. Because at this point, my dad was such a terrible, terrible singer, but my dad, I bought an album after my dad passed away. I bought the Purple Rain soundtrack because that was my dad's favorite album.
Nope.
So yeah, Prince is a bit is deep inside my DNA, and yeah, and Prince. Yeah, I look forward to anything Prince did. So
Yep, exactly. No, yeah, you can. When he passed away, definitely a lot of people came out of the woodwork and like, oh, I love Prince. It's like, what? Really? I would not have guessed that. But all right. Outside of the top award of the Super Bowl, let's bring out the top Super Bowl MVPs. This one I think is going to be if we nail these ones, I'll be shocked because there's so many good. If you look at stats and stuff, there's so many good ones. So you're number 5.
my number 5 is probably not what a Minnesota Viking wants to hear. Again, and he did it against the New England Patriots, which made me even happier. But Desmond Howard, when he 244 return yards, I still think that's a record. And he had a 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. I'm sorry. That, to me, to be a special teams player and get MVP against the Drew Bledsoe team, it's New England Patriots, and I think it was Bill Parcells, so it's okay. I can handle that. And I got lucky enough to see the New England Patriots a couple years before that in a preseason game. But yeah, to me, to have a special team or win an award like that, I was happy.
Yeah. For me, I had three different ones written down for number 5 here. And I still think I'm gonna go with the one I first wrote down. And I believe it was the Dallas team. Harvey Martin and Randy White led the Dallas defense with 8 turnovers that year. I don't think there's ever been 8 turnovers in a Super Bowl game since then, and for them to get that award,
that was against Denver, wasn't it? Was that the Denver?
No, that was early on. I'll look it up, but I think it was early.
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember what it was, but I know Dallas played Denver in the 70s. Craig.
Yeah, it was in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I think if that's that game I'm thinking, Craig Morton used to be the backup quarterback in Dallas.
All right, you're number 4.
My number 4. Well, I gave Green Bay Packer fans hope. Now I'm going to take hope away. You had this quarterback on your practice squad. You had this quarterback as your number 4 quarterback. You let him go. He goes to Arena Football, goes to the Iowa Barnstormers, comes back, sits on the bench as a backup quarterback to Trent Green, who gets hurt, I believe, against Kansas City in the preseason game. So basically, a preseason backup goes all the way to the Super Bowl with the greatest show on turf to win the Super Bowl against the Tennessee Titans. He was 24 for 45, but 414 yards, 2 touchdowns with a passer rating of a 99.7.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the Super Bowl I was talking about. That was Super Bowl 12. You're right, Dallas and Denver, and the final score was 27-10. So 8 turnovers didn't make that big of a difference. So, my number 4. It was one of the first names I wrote down too when we talked about this, and yeah, you had him at number 5 is Desmond Howard. I mean, 244 all-purpose yards, 99-yard kickoff return. I think everybody watching that game, Packer fan or not, wanted him to bust a punt.
I want him to bust the punt, but I didn't. I to this day, I still don't think he should have won the MVP. I to this day still don't think he should have won it.
No, I mean that's not.
I think it should have been Antonio Freeman. He went into that game with a broken arm.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, and it was just like, okay, yeah.
But Desmond Howard was all over the place. I mean, all right, you're number 3.
You went defense with number 5. I'll go defense with number 3. And I'm going to take Denver. And I'm going to take. Everybody thought, well, this was Peyton Manning's swan song in the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos, but doesn't win the MVP. Von Miller wins the MVP. He gets 6 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and causes 2 fumbles. That's the guy who won the Super Bowl. That there's not even a question that was your MVP.
And if I remember right, that was one boring Super Bowl. And I think if it wasn't for Von Miller putting up those stats, we're probably talking about a kicker winning this MVP, because I don't think neither team had good offense to do anything. So yeah, Von Miller definitely was. Yeah, that Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm sticking with defense on number 3, and I'm going to go with the guy who won the MVP on a losing team. Chuck Howell, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble.
You hate me.
That's
we won. Yeah, we won the Super Bowl, but we didn't get the MVP.
Yep. But yeah, Chuck Howell. I mean, that just tells you how bad the game was. If your MVP comes from an opposite team that had 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery. So
I think that was I think a kicker won that game. I think our kicker had kicked 5 field goals in that game.
Yeah.
That was a boring game.
Yeah. All right, you're number 2.
My number 2, I brought him up earlier with the Washington Redskins Denver Broncos game. Doug Williams. When a quarterback who was the backup quarterback halfway through the season, hey, Brock Purdy. Just so San Francisco 49ers fans know, there is hope.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, it's like Doug Williams goes 18 of 29 for 340 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, he threw a pick, but with a QB rating of a 127.9. Just so everybody knows, perfect is 153.8. Yeah.
My number 2, not a fan favorite, and I hate to put him here, but you look at the list of MVPs, pretty much every time they won, he put up big numbers. Tom Brady. I gotta put him there, and I don't like it, but I probably could have kept him off the list or bumped him down some.
Which Tom Brady? Please don't tell me it was the Atlanta Tom Brady.
I don't know. They all look good.
The one that confuses me is the one where Matt Ryan loses a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But everybody's if everybody looked at the last quarter and overtime, James White went for over 100 yards in the fourth quarter.
Brady should not have won the Super Bowl that year.
He should have not won. He should have not won the Super Bowl.
That game should not have been New England's game. Atlanta blew that one, and that's the only Super Bowl I have left ever thinking the game was over. I left a bar I was at with my buddy. My buddy stayed there. I left. At the end of the third quarter, I'm like, oh, this game's over with. I wake up and he tells me it goes into overtime. I'm like, what? So you're number 1.
My number 1. If you don't have this as a number 1, I don't think anybody was paying attention. The only time the Chargers ever go to the Super Bowl, they run into a guy who's got a monkey on his back because he's the quarterback that sat behind Joe Montana. I'm telling you, the numbers in this guy was absolutely striking. Yeah, he went 24 for 36, but he went 325 yards, 6 touchdowns. 6 touchdowns with a passer rating of a 134.8. Yeah. Which is funny because if you think about it, Steve Young, everywhere Steve Young went, Steve Young was the backup quarterback behind Doug Williams in Tampa Bay. Which was really weird.
There 1 year too?
He started there, and that's when Doug Williams went to Washington. He started briefly for a year, and then he ends up going to San Francisco and wins 3-4 Super Bowls with 3 Super Bowls with Joe Montana. But Steve Young, oh my God, that's a crazy, and he's the reason why most left-handers wear the number 8.
Yep.
It's because of Steve Young, and the man could run.
Yep.
I've never seen a Mormon run so fast in my life. I know we're gonna get phone calls, Jay Mack, about the Mormon thing. I apologize now, but yeah, Steve Young.
Well, I'll do you one better. I do have Steve Young as my number one, but I also had to put Joe Montana there because, again, I mean, Montana had 5 touchdowns in one Super Bowl. I mean, so like I said, I could have dropped Brady down, but I think to me, Montana's still an elite quarterback. Young definitely is too, but I mean, between those two guys in 2 different Super Bowls, 11 touchdowns and, almost or just over 600 yards. Like you said, the monkey on your back for Steve Young because, nobody thought he could do it. He had to get the monkey off his back. And they even show him after one of the touchdowns, he's like, can you guys get the monkey off my back on the sideline? And he, gestured and people are, but yeah, I got Steve Young and Joe Montana as my number one. I just, and it was tough because it's like you look at the list and it's like quarterback. It's like, okay, I'm not going to make a whole list of quarterbacks, even though, most MVP awards come down to the quarterback because they touch the ball the most. But
Right.
yeah, like you said, I mean, Desmond Howard, shouldn't have got it. Brady shouldn't have got it that 1 year. I even left Terrell Davis off of there. That was one of the guys I had at number 5 with 3 touchdowns and $157. Jerry Rice, another guy that, every big game he seemed like he was, on fire. So,
well, and what the weird thing was the year that, and I thought I was losing my mind because I thought the year that Mark Rippon won against the Bills, I legitimately thought Timmy Smith had won.
Yeah.
Because Timmy Smith, I think, he was a rookie, and then he goes for like 140 something, 135, 140, and three touchdowns, and I was like,
oh.
And he was I can't remember who the starting running back was because it wasn't Ricky Irvins because Ricky Irvins came 2 years later.
Was that Riggs?
No, Riggs won his in '83 against the Dolphins, the year that Marino went. No, that was New England. That wasn't Miami. That was Los Angeles. I think that was the Raiders game.
So Washington,
or was it the Dolphins?
Let's see here. So 92 is what you're talking about, right?
Right.
All right, let's see if we can pull up the 92.
Because it was weird. And my dad used to, and the weird thing is I like talking about my dad for some reason today. We always, I don't know if you were the same way. My dad used to get into these Super Bowl pools where you pick numbers for quarters. My dad was getting ready to win. Get to win
or Irvins.
Irvins. It was Ricky Irvins.
Yeah.
But and I think it was the Dolphins. It was the Dolphins Super Bowl back in the '80s. And my dad's like, "Oh, this is as long as they don't run the ball, as long as they take a knee, I'm going to win $1,000. I'm going to win like $1,000, right?" And I can't remember who the kick returner was for the Dolphins, but he comes out of the end zone and gets literally pasted and drops the ball on the turf. And it was against the Redskins. And next thing you know, they score a touchdown. And my dad is legitimately trying not to go to the yard to throw up because he's like, all you had to do was take a knee. All you had to do was take a knee. And he's like, that's it. He's just physically sick. And I'm like, yeah, I've never been that close.
Yeah, no. Yeah, at my football parties, we all, draw numbers or get numbers. And of course, you're sitting there when it's like close to your number. It's like, well, if we get a touchdown here and they go for a 2-point conversion, then the other team has to go down and, maybe get a safety or something, and I'll get my numbers. It's just like, all right, now you're stretching it. But yeah, we've all had those moments.
The funny thing is, the only time I've actually been close to winning like $600 was the year that the Patriots played the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm sitting here going, I can't get this. But hey, the New England Patriots has to score like 3 touchdowns, and the Atlanta's got to kick a field goal, and I got a shot. kind of what happened. And then I'm like, no, you guys can stop now. You guys can stop. And then just go right by my number. Well, okay, thanks. I had a shot.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. So, Tim, your final thoughts on this week?
It's a good week it's a good week for a bye week.
Yeah.
It's nice to relax, rest. I'm not watching the Pro Bowl. I don't know if anybody else is, but it's good. It's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week 1 of 2. It's going to be interesting. But keep watching. If you guys have any recommendations of lists that we should try, put them in the comments. We're always looking for inspiration or suggestions, and if you wanna argue with us about our ranks, put them in the comments. We wanna argue.
Yep. So with that being said, keep checking us out. Again, we'll promote it. Oregon Cougars football starts up in April. Sometime this coming up month, we're going to have our weekly show in the Den with the Cougars, I believe it is. If you haven't watched our special a couple weeks ago, check that out with the Oregon Cougars football. It was great. I'm pumped for it. If you don't know, it's women's professional football. So it's out in Oregon. They got teams all over the place. So the first game is April 22nd up in Seattle. So the guys will be up there filming and bringing it live. So, but with that being said, check out myself and Tim on Sundays, morning tailgate. We'll break down the playoff games. We'll kind of preview the Super Bowl a little bit. I don't know what else we'll talk about. We'll find stuff to talk about. So with that being said, check us out next Tuesday for C2C Rankem. Have a good day.